play with.
Are you stuck at home in lockdown? Yeah, I know, we all are. Don't worry, we've got you covered because it's time once again for Live at Night with Pete Ferrero, where whatever happens, happens. Here's your host, Pete Ferrero.
They must be like the life of the party.
Did you guys like that funky 30-second?
Nice.
Yeah, I was getting around that beat.
I like how you don't trust us. You muted our microphones while that was going on.
Yeah, we can't have anybody talking during that.
That's right.
Anyway, hey, welcome to Live at Night. I haven't done this in a while because I've been doing the Beverly Hills 90210 show podcast, which is doing really great. So it's been fun, but I thought it was my birthday yesterday. So I was like,
happy birthday.
Yeah, I didn't say that for that purpose, but thank you. And so I thought, let's bring it back and start talking about music. Mike actually hit me up and said, are we doing this tonight? And I was like, yes, we are.
What age did you turn yesterday, Peter?
I turned 44. Yeah.
44. Congratulations. You're exactly a decade younger than me.
It was fun. I had a great day. It's weird, being in LA and not seeing my family and all that stuff, but we did a Zoom. So we got that. We got the Trump support covered.
Well, even if you were here in New Jersey, you would have done a Zoom. So it's really no different.
That's true. Yeah. But I got all the information that's going on in their world covered. And I was like, okay, this was pretty good. And then my friend Elizabeth Faulkner is a chef out all over on TV and whatnot. She made me a beautiful dinner, Christina and I. So it turned out to be beautiful. On Saturday, I met the 90210 my co-hosts. I had never met them. I mean, like, it's kind of like this with you guys. I mean, I met you guys, but like, we see each other only like this. So like they have legs and they walk and talk and stuff. So I learned that because,
Dude, Jason Priestley, man. How about that?
Dude, that was so fun to have Jason Priestley on.
That's cool.
It's the dream for all of us 90210ers, like to talk to Jason Priestley. And he was super cool. He was always like present and like emailing and talking to me beforehand. So that was awesome. How are you guys? What's going on in the world of the wedding world? All three of my combatants here. Mike, how's everything going with you in your world?
It's starting to slowly pick up. I mean, we did 4 events this past weekend. We have a handful this weekend. It looks like my September personally is going to be decent. I think I'm going to wind up doing 8 or 9.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're slowly, September and October are the perfect month because if you're going to do an outdoor wedding, it should be the best weather. So there's a number of places locally that have put the tents up and that are trying to do the 100-person outdoor thing. And so we're doing a few here, a few there.
I've got one of those on August 30th. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm flying back to New Jersey, obviously, to film it. And how are they going? How are the 100-person tent sort of things happening? Are they cool? Are they challenging?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of what you'd expect. My experience has been more dancing than you probably would guess during this. But yeah, I mean, they're unique. There's something you'll look back on 5 years from now and go, oh, that was a different experience. But I tip my cap to these brides and grooms who are kind of brave enough to move forward during this and say, we're going to do it, come hell or high water,
Yeah, one of my brides said, like, it's sad. It was funny, but also sad. She's like, we just want this over with. Which is,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the sad reality of this industry at this point. They don't want to have the wedding is not even on their mind anymore. It's just a matter of getting through this date because they have so much.
Yeah, it's just a matter of you did all the planning and for a lot of these brides, they postponed once and now they're like, do we really need to postpone again? No, let's just figure out a way to make this happen.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, how about you, man? How have you been?
Well, I have a stretch now from this Sunday to next Saturday where I actually have 4 weddings.
Nice.
And then nothing until the end of September. Actually, my other crew, because, one of the things that I said to the guys was, I'm not going to take the jobs that they had away from them just because, the way things fell. So some of my guys are actually going to be working more than me if the weddings all hold pat over the next.
Yeah.
But it's going to be different. A lot of them, I hate this word, but a lot of them pivoted and did the like tent, less people. Let's do, again, I tell all the brides, I said, you have to realize we're also still the footloose state. We're not allowed to have dance floors, but I'll be Kevin Bacon if need be.
I keep saying, Chris, no dance floor doesn't mean no dancing, though.
Well, I tell people all the time, I tell my clients in specific, like even when things are right, I say, listen, I do not initiate a conga line, but if one happens to break out because of something I might be playing, cool. So be it. So my whole thing is like, I'm not going to be initiating the dance floor per se, but I'll be playing music. If people happen to gyrate, then so be it, and that's how I'm approaching it,
Mike, I'm curious for you too, and Tim, don't worry, I'm going to get to you. I'm curious for you too, though, is with the no dancing policy, is that a turn for you? How are you pivot there? By the way, I was at dinner yesterday, and I used the word pivot.
Can we all promise we're not going to say that word one more time? Yeah. Can we not say that or new normal? Can we just have an agreement?
Yeah, I said it 10 times.
Like I said, Peter, no dance floor doesn't mean no dancing to me. And my experience has been people want to party. And, I've had people dancing at their tables, dancing in front of their tables, dancing between the two tables and things like that. So I think the no dance floor policy is smart because it means that people can't congregate in a small enclosed spot. But, if you play the right music and you create the right vibe, people are going to be happy. And when people are happy, they sing, and sometimes they get up and dance.
What's the rule with masks? Is everybody are guests wearing masks? Are brides wearing masks, or they don't have to?
I don't think they have to once they're seated or under the tent. I see myself and the staff is pretty much the only masks that I see.
Yeah, I'm going to be wearing a mask. Tim, how about you, man? What's going on? You just did 7 days in a row of filming. Yes. A couple of weddings, but
a bunch of shoots, and then it ended with 2 weddings, both being Zoom weddings. And it's interesting that the vibe is different in all of the Zoom weddings I've done. One of them I did at a venue, and I won't say the venue, but I talked to the people there, and they were like, "Listen, like we can't have the dance floor, but we're not going to be the dance police. Like we can't go around being like you're tapping your foot. You can't do that." So people danced, but people were very adamant about the masks at my first wedding, where everyone was masked up the whole time, pretty much. But then my second wedding, no masks whatsoever, pretty much. So,
Tim, do you find that people want to shake your hand too?
It is. I think it's like I don't know. It's muscle memory. People, hey, I'm Tim, I'm the videographer, and they go like this, and I'm like, and I pivot to the elbow.
I do a lot of elbow pivoting these days.
I must have turned down like 25 people already this summer that walk up to me and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not shaking hands these days. And then it's almost like I've reminded them of something, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. Like, what? This isn't top of mind for you right now? It's surprising.
It also can change from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. A lot of times at the beginning of the day, it's very formal, mask, elbow, and then end, mask off, going for the hug. And I'm like,
we're not doing
that. Listen, this just in, alcohol lowers inhibitions. It's not something that we're all, learning for the first time. Alcohol lowers inhibitions.
Oh, yeah. And that also means mask.
Rich Kinney says guests in Tampa are not required to wear masks. So there we have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be setting up in mask when we get to our area. I mean, because I'm singing and I'm, the mask has got to come off. I mean, my saxophone player can't play a sax through a mask. So, but we're not going to do what we're really known for, which is like, roll up our sleeves and get out there and sing to the clients like we used to be able to do.
Yeah.
We're really going to be relegated to our space, right in front of the facade and behind the facade, which is actually kind of cool because it prevents people from going like this to me all night. Can you play this, dude? Can you play this? I don't want. So, I actually have an excuse not to have people do that to me now. COVID, you're not, please.
Right. No. You find yourselves doing no requests, COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, a question for you guys as DJ musician people. For toast, are you guys are required to do any kind of wipe down of microphones or anything like that? Like,
I don't know if we're required, but that's what I've been doing. I have a separate microphone on a stand, and and if I have multiple toasters, I instruct each one. I said, give me a few minutes and I'll wipe it down in between.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
because
separate microphone. It's a separate microphone that only gets used for toasters, and we just, give it a good alcohol wipe between.
Yeah, like for video, we do interviews and we have to put lavs on people. So, what about you, Tim? Have you been wiping down microphones?
For Friday, for interviews, between interviews, I have a little sprayer, like a pocket sprayer, and it's on the microphone. That way, just between. Yeah, I think it just makes people feel comfortable. I don't know.
We also stopped doing novelties for our photo booths.
Yeah. Can't exactly do handout giveaways or photo booth.
And giveaways in general. Like, right. I don't do the the deluxe novelty pack, as they used to call it, but I don't see us handing out tchotchkes anytime soon.
Yeah.
So,
Mike, before we start talking about music, you've been through you're greatly affected by this personally, this COVID. Yeah. I
grew up in Queens, New York, so I have a lot of ties still in Queens. My dad passed away. He lived in Queens. My next door neighbor's father passed away. A dear friend of mine lost his wife who lives in Queens. So, I think just a lot of it has to do with where my roots are from. And Queens was one of the hardest hit areas. So it has personally affected me pretty greatly. Yeah.
It goes without saying, you've been very vocal about what's happening. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are.
I tend to be vocal on social media anyway, but yes, this is. I'm a pro masker, and I'm a pro. If we could only be a little bit more disciplined, we might get the fuck through this thing. But it doesn't seem like anybody wants to do that.
So I'm curious, though. The question I have is, given that and going to weddings, do you struggle with certain things like, fuck, grandma's here. You guys should not be doing this. Like, are you wrestling with things as you see them in the industry?
Not really, because I also lean on, people have to make their own decisions. And if grandma wants to go to the wedding, and if she wants to not social distance, and she wants to, not wear a mask when she should, am I to blame for that as the DJ? I mean, if I wasn't there, she'd be masked, not social distancing. So, maybe I could show her one of the last time she has. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Before we get into music, moving forward, what do you think this looks like? I mean, I was talking to somebody today who's in the bar business about something else, and they were talking about how every restaurant sort of that has like the ability to pivot. There's that word again. And do an outdoor dining space is great, but in the winter, this is going to sort of shift again. And when we get to like November, December, those weddings have got to be probably postponed, I'd imagine, outside of a vaccine, right?
Yeah,
well, that's outside of that vaccine. Hopefully, something's in place.
Yeah. What do you think?
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to be, honestly, I think there's going to be a lot of places that all of a sudden who didn't have French doors now have French doors. I think there's going to be a lot of heaters involved. And, they're going to try to keep it open as long as they possibly can. Honestly, I do believe, Mike is I agree with a lot of what Mike has to say about it, but I also believe this is very politicized as well. I want to see where we're at in terms of what they open for indoor dining when things get colder. Now, the governor here in New Jersey has mentioned that he really wants to. We have a special guest tonight. How he really wants to get back to doing some kind of indoor dining soon.
Yeah.
So it really is a lot of it's the thing that I think that really drives me nuts about completely out of our control.
Yes.
And we're slaves to a decision that's not ours. And that's really what burns my ass, about the whole thing. It's like, honestly, I was having a conversation with somebody and they said to me, well, how do you feel about this? I'm saying, listen, the death of my son didn't even stop me from going to work. It really had to take something brutal and drastic like this to keep me from going to work. And I have to be honest with you, it's taken its toll on me now. It's 5-6 months in.
Yeah.
I'm also starting to get comfortable, which I don't like. I was used to working my ass off. Now I got to go back to work, and I'm like, well,
even like the first one,
like a teenager again.
The first one back had to be really weird. I mean, I'm about to do that, but I mean, it's because, well, like I shot a documentary in this process, and like we went out to work and whatnot, and then like I got there and I was like, oh God. This is 2 hours. I'm like, dude, I've been at weddings where I've been up on my feet for 12 hours. And I'm like, in the second hour, I was like, whoa, I can't. This is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, because I've been home for so long. Tim, how about you? Have you been dealing with that? Did you just name yourself Tim Hillman?
Yeah, you can call me Tim. You can call me Tim.
My name is Jim, but most of my friends call me Jim.
Exactly.
I love that.
Only my close friends. No, I've been working pretty consistently as far as other stuff besides weddings. So I agree with Chris. It's like it's strange that I feel I'm getting comfortable with like having weekends in a sense and working through the week. And it I don't know about you guys, but you can do like when I came home from a trip, I used to be really, it used to be dead. Now, like I do one and I'm shot. Like the idea of how long you can work for has definitely changed throughout this. So I think it'll be hard to go back to, especially because we're going to be, once things start like kicking into high gear, those doubles and triples are going to be really hurting, especially full days. Because like to do like a 3-hour thing is one thing, but to do like 10-12 hour stuff for us is a lot.
This week, I did a bar show. I did a concert at somebody's like boathouse with half the band that plays with Dennis DeYoung. And then on Saturday, I did like a 40th birthday party in the backyard of somebody's house. When I do weddings, I don't sing as much as I do when I'm doing these bar gigs, which is just me singing all night long. By the time I got done with that 40th birthday party on Saturday night, my throat was shot. My legs were killing me. With like, my salon pause is like the new tramp stamp on my back. It's like, it's I want to refer to my knees as left and right, not good and bad. It's
It's really been, a weird time period for all of us, and, politicians can't seem to get anything done, which is really messed up, both sides of that argument. And I don't know. I mean, I hate that phrase, the new normal, but I don't know what that looks like. I feel like everybody wants things to go back to normal, but I don't think that's going to be a realistic approach. I feel like.
You mean ever, Peter, or just not by the end of this year?
Well, by the end of this year, but like, what was normal probably is gone for a little bit, because whether it's this strand of virus or another strand of virus, or if this is going to be something, I think this is going to be something that affects us for the next couple of years, right? I would think.
Do you think a year from now, are people still wearing masks and not shaking hands?
It's a tough one, man. Like,
make a guess. Do you think a year from now, your birthday next year, do you think we'll be back to?
I do think that we will be at least wearing masks for sure, but I don't. I can't. Can you see that day of like going back to a bar and like, passing up to somebody and being like, "Hey,
yeah, I can." And maybe
what's up and all that. Like
maybe it's just because I miss it so much, but yeah, I can. And I think so much of it has to do with a vaccine that we can trust. Once the vast majority of people get that, I think we'll say, okay, let's go back to normal.
I mean, I hope so, but for me, I just feel like I don't know how many of these things are going to start popping up. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But why do you say that? This is the first in 100 years. So, I mean, isn't it legitimate to say this is a once in a more than one lifetime occurrence. I mean,
Right. Well, I don't mean to go conspiracy theory on everybody here, but
Conspiracy.
but if this was something that was created, you know what I mean, this could be the a new form of terrorism, right? To sort of, and we don't know too much about this virus, of how it got here and whatnot. So I don't know. It just totally wiped us out, right? It totally wiped out our economy. It wiped out everything that we do. So
I thought we were talking music tonight.
sorry, yeah, I went off. Well, listen,
Conspiracy.
I even have a female artist to talk about, so I'm
cool.
not
No, we're
embarrassed
going
like
there.
last
We're
time.
going there. But I have the Bible this week.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Now
shit.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, there we go.
Tim?
I still don't have my copy.
Oh, what's
Tim,
up?
shoot
It's
me
on
your
you.
address.
It's on you.
Send me your address. I'll send you a copy so you can hold it up.
All right,
next
I'm
time.
putting
But
it in there.
August 17th, you talk about Woodstock, right? And
Yes.
Richie
Yeah.
Havens and whatnot. So,
Yeah. So today is the last day of Woodstock. I actually thought about covering Woodstock for 3 consecutive days, but I thought that was a little bit too much. So I just did 1 day recap of the entire weekend on today's date.
which is great. I mean, have you guys heard about Mike's book?
Tell us about it.
I might have read it a time or two.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, what is your story of this particular day? Maybe the next couple of days too. What does people have to look forward to for this day?
Oh my God, you're going to embarrass me. I don't have it in front of me. You tell me. I don't know. What is tomorrow? I don't know.
I actually got a table reading of this thing on the night he released it.
Peter, I'm sure you can relate to this with your documentaries. I spent so much time on this thing. When it was finally done and printed, I was like, I don't even want to think about it again. So it's been over a year since I've even cracked it open and looked at it.
Just so many people will say something that happened in one of the the Price of Fame documentary. Remember that thing? And I'm like, nope.
Yeah, right. You
I'm
put all that time and effort in, and now you just wanted to get away from it. So
Absolutely, definitely true.
Yeah.
But on August 16th is the Pete Best thing.
Oh, I love that excerpt. You know what I loved about that was the fact that I found a silver lining in that, and it's all about Pete Best. I mean, that guy went through depression when the Beatlemania was going. For anyone who doesn't know, Pete Best was the drummer of the Beatles who got fired by the Beatles right before they were about to break. So he did the 10,000 hours in Hamburg and all around England, and then just as they were about to break, they signed. George Martin says that drummer's not good enough, replace him, so they fire him. So the man understandably went through bouts of depression. His old band is now the biggest thing in the world, but he rebounded. And as of the writing of my book, I don't know if this is still the case in the last 2 years, he and his wife are still together over 50 years. He's outlived 2 of the 4 Beatles. The manager that didn't think he was good enough, you know what I mean? It's a pretty, and he had some nice quotes about how life has been good to him and he has no regrets. So I loved that day because it could have just been a depressing day, but it turned out to be a silver lining day.
For sure. And I love that you didn't go the typical August 16th because I believe Elvis died on my birthday.
You know, Peter, I tried to do very few on this date somebody died because I just thought that was really depressing. I did a few of them, but I really did try to avoid it for the most part because my vision with this book was people would wake up every morning and read that day's excerpt.
Right.
And I didn't want to start everybody off by going, oh yeah, Elvis died today and Jim Morrison died this day and Janis Joplin died this day. Because it can get really heavy in music with how many people have passed,
Totally. Especially at 27 years old, right?
Yeah. That 27 club. Although statistically there's nothing to it. As many musicians die at 28 years old and 29. It's just that a few famous ones, so we've made it a thing.
Yeah, as per usual.
Yeah.
But I am curious what you guys, the topic that we came up with this week was to kind of talk about, what music that you listen to in quarantine or in lockdown. So I am curious about all that. Tim, you always kind of throw us a hook on that. So what have you or what were you listening to in quarantine?
So I prepared a couple different things. Are we just going general, or are we going to go with our picks?
Just go with the first one that you got. Now, by the way, there's some like background noise. Are you guys hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Shay
Is
is
this a
squeaking
squeaker
his
toy?
I'm
Okay,
sorry. You want me to mute? Well, I'll mute.
Is it here? Is it in my? Is it in
No,
my?
I'm sorry. Shay, hey.
But you do hear that, right? Has everybody?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't, because I constantly hear it. I constantly hear dogs squeaking toys.
Right. No, me same. But yeah. What do you got, Tim?
So, one of as far as like new things that I kind of discovered and I kind of got into, and that I felt like which is the most appropriate for this one was, I was actually on XM radio. One of those things where like I usually just listen to like I find out like what my favorite artists are, and I sometimes leave a channel on. And I was on some strange channel, and this song came on called "Lockdown on Date Night Tuesday," and it was from this artist called JS Ondera. And it kind of like sounded like a Dylan take on what's happening now. And so I was interested in it, and I checked out his album that came out a few days later. And the whole album is just written in being in isolation and being in lockdown. And a lot of like, I feel like you can definitely go down that road and it can come out really cheesy and kind of like very like, okay, like Usual Suspects and all this stuff, but it actually came out really good, and it's actually like really relatable, and it doesn't go corny as much as some of the titles may suggest that they may be a little funky. They were actually really good, and a good soul to them, and I'm typically not into that kind of thing, but I just kind of I found something to relate to, because like I thought like because of this lockdown, some great music will come out of it. Listen, we're all home. People are making things. I'm recording stuff. You guys are recording stuff. Yeah. I wanted to see what the professional, like real time, like people who have been like, you know, they're even more gonna go nuts. And this came out great. It's album's called Folk Rock and Roll Volume 1, Tales of Isolation. Really cool stuff.
Pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
So Tim, I'm always interested in listening habits. You said you checked out the album. That mean you downloaded it? Do you stream it from some?
This is material from Mike's next book, by the way.
Sure. So I mean, these days, like when I hear a song, I'm like, okay, I like it. Maybe I'll check out the album, or sometimes I'll dive into like, oh, I know that one song, one hit wonders. Let me check out the whole album and see if there's any other gems. But my way of checking it out is like long road trip. I'm listening it from top to bottom in a car on Spotify.
On Spotify. Okay.
Yeah, with no commercials, none of that, and making sure I've got like the premium, whatever. But yeah, Spotify is the way I usually do it.
I'm also into Spotify. There's nothing worse than being at a wedding with someone that doesn't have the premium Spotify account, and they're in the prep, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I love this song. It's this Madonna song or whatever. And then like, are you listening to Spotify? You know what I mean? Like in the middle of this really nice moment. So I definitely have. I go Spotify as well. Mike, do you have a Spotify account?
I do have a Spotify account, but I guess it's just old school. When I want to listen to an album, I buy it and I download it. That's just still. I just have those old habits from buying an album as a kid, and years later buying CDs and listening to the CD. And now I have an iTunes account, and if there's an artist that I want to hear their album, I just spend the $9.99 and buy the album.
It's interesting too. Well, Chris, what's your take on that? How are you listening to music? Chris?
No, I own a lot of the stuff that I constantly listen to. You can hear me or no? Am I here?
You're back.
Internet connection, okay.
Yeah.
No, it depends. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I really want to listen to I already own. So, I have an Apple Music account, but it's from downloaded all the music, and I have a Spotify premium account as well. So
interesting.
I like the playlists,
Mike's next book is 365 days of what each person, how they download their music. So ridiculous. What's interesting about that topic though, Mike, is the format's changing big time. I was reading an interview today with Keith Richards because they're re-releasing Goat's Head Soup, which is a record I would probably talk about today. But they also did a song during this quarantine, Ghost Town, right? And they said they had plans to release a record this year, but now they both said that they will not release a record and they're just going to release singles. They're just going to release tracks as they feel the need to come out with them. I mean, that's the Stones doing that. So I do think a band that like defined by albums. So I do think that that is sort of changing in our place, where the day of like listening to a full record and hearing all the material might be going away, which is sad.
Yeah, I listen to Howard all the time, and he asks musicians all the time, "Why do you bother releasing an album anymore?"
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't have an answer, or a lot of them say it's for their own personal. You know, they feel like they have this collection of songs and they just want to release it all at once. But yeah, I mean, there's really no reason to not just do that. Release a single now and another one a month from now and another one a month from now.
Yeah.
You know,
If you see here, I just released on Spotify a 4-song EP.
Hey-o.
I used to create albums. I don't anymore. You know, I made 4 songs. I thought were 4 of my strongest songs, and I have them streamed now on all the streaming platforms. That just happened to be Spotify. It's on iTunes Music. It's on Pandora. It's on all the apps there. But it's all, you know, it's 4 songs.
Right.
You know, when I was in all of my bands coming up, it was like we need at least 10 to 12 songs before we can release something.
Right.
You know, now it's 4 songs, and I got friends that, you know, from Nashville that are just like, they really pump up. They make one beautiful record, spend a lot of money in the studio, get the right guys to do it, and then they really bust it saying my new single is coming out, and stream the hell out of it. So that's really where the music is going right now in terms of original artists.
Interesting.
yeah, just buying your EP right now, Chris.
Nice. Oh, I'll do that too. Hey, Tim, what about you? For someone that's been listening to music, you know, are you more inclined to listen to just tracks?
I think I mean, I'm kind of in like the hybrid area where like I grew up with albums, but also near the tail end of like high school and college, it was more about like downloads, iTunes, Napster, all that kind of stuff, Winamax. So I'm kind of in like the weird interim period where like I definitely have albums I love, and I still listen to albums, and when a new artist comes out, I listen to the full album. But I do agree that right now we're in a culture where you need to stay relevant, especially when people aren't buying as much music. And for an artist can't survive by putting out an album and nothing for 2, 3, 4 years, like, because people are going to forget about you. Like, to stay relevant these days, people are like putting out a single, promoting it a bunch, putting on Instagram, Facebook. Like, it's just like a constant onslaught of stuff. So single.
Well, what ended up happening towards the end of the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that, you had these artists that were just like, we know the formula now.
Yeah.
You need 2 or 3 good records to vault the album up, and the rest of the album can be filler.
Yeah.
Now you don't have, you know, now if you're going to put something out, it's got to be the best of what you got. You know, the things that happen with a lot of the artists is, you know, it's an old saying. It says you have your whole life to write your first album. Like the Go-Go's, for the Go-Go's, for instance. I don't know if anybody caught that documentary. That's actually phenomenal.
I have not seen that. Yeah,
all right, we'll see that.
Yeah,
because they're living proof of that. That whole first album, they were playing on the road forever. They were playing, you know, with all sorts of different bands, but they were playing those same like 8 to 10 songs that made up that first Go-Go's record. And then they recorded it, and that album went to #1. And then they had 6 months to record the second one. You know what I'm saying? So you got your whole life to write your first album, and you got like a year to write your second one.
Yeah,
That is
usually
the
you're
reason
touring
why-
on the road, you know.
That's the main reason why there is a thing called a sophomore slump in music, and it's a legitimate thing. A lot of bands have that great debut album, and they can't live up to it. You know,
Yeah,
Hootie and
also,
Blow-
the second album is
are
always
example.
written like on the road, where you can't have like songs that are relatable because your life is not relatable because you're touring.
Right.
Like it's totally different lifestyle.
But what I missed about
Some of the songs are the ones that didn't make the first album. They
Sure.
aren't good enough to make the first album, so you got a mix of that, and then we've got the label wants another album within a year, and they can't really, you know, hone a song.
yeah, it's interesting
I guess
too.
that first Go-Go album, they toured.
It's interesting too because
years.
like even with the what the Stones like, and some of the older bands re-releasing older material, and then finding all of these gems that were never released, and then doing these kind of repackages, like what they're doing with Goat's Head Soup. They're re-releasing all these tracks. Like it's like, okay, I love it and I hate it all at the same time, especially particularly with Goat's Head Soup, because they're releasing songs that are not even from that period. They're just like, oh shit, we have that one, so let's throw that in the mix as well, and then like the one that they released, Scarlet with Jimmy Page, is just, I think it's horrible. I think it's absolutely awful. It's not even a song. It's just like a jam session with Keith Richards and Jimmy Page. Mick Jagger wasn't in there. They threw vocals on it later. And I'm just like, dude, like, okay, like if there is a few of them that are real legitimate, like with the Exile one, there was legitimate, tunes that you can feel like, oh, that was a song that they just didn't release. But now they're just like, I feel like they're grasping at certain aspects of it. Like I was listening to the other one too, Crisscross, which is another Goat's Head thing, and it's just brown sugar. You know what I mean? I'm like, when
eBay first started, I binged buying Prince bootlegs because that was a big thing on eBay.
Sure.
And I bought it. I spent a ton of money for a ton of Prince bootlegs, and I realized with each one why he didn't put them on albums.
Exactly.
When an artist says, "Okay, these are my best 12 songs. We put this on an album," and these 10 didn't make the cut, it's because those 10 weren't good enough. So they get released secretly, and people go, "Ooh, it's a bootleg. Let me get my hands on it." And then you listen to it and you go, "I understand why Prince didn't put this album."
Yeah.
I think each of us have probably, all of our artists, our favorite artists, has that, right? They have those bootlegs and whatnot, and you're just like for concert footage, it's amazing, bootlegs. You know what I mean? Like seeing some gig from a long time ago that you never had an opportunity to see, that's where it's great. But
my favorite with the concerts is finding a concert film from when I was at. That's to me, too. I love that. I'm like, shit, I was at this show.
Yeah,
barely remember it. Let me go back and watch it. Those are the concert films I like.
Yeah, same.
But also like a lot of usually like nice bootlegs are the ones they do like covers or releases they never actually really recorded. So when you have a recording of something that was never actually recorded, that's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I just feel like, particularly for this, and I do like both the songs, to be clear, because I'm a diehard, so I have to. But like, I just feel like
the record.
why are we doing this? Like, what is the goal here? And also, like, I'm a huge Mick Taylor fan of that period. Like, I think he's so phenomenal on everything that he played in that time period. And to disregard him by throwing a Jimmy Page song, I was like slightly insulted by it. You know what I mean? I was like, don't play a game with me and pretend like this moment happened with Jimmy Page that never actually happened. Like this is something that happened years later that Mick Taylor wasn't even a part of. Because like this sessions, we're really in the weeds here, but this session, sorry, but this session had songs that came to Tattoo You, waiting on a friend, and like a couple of the other Mick Taylor period songs. So I'm like, that would be fun. So when you hear like, oh my God, they're doing a re-release of a Mick Taylor period, you get pretty excited with the idea of, oh my God, maybe there's going to be some gem solos that, he played on that we never got to hear. But they're not doing that. They're just almost disregarding him from the archives. Wow, I went off.
You're a huge fan, man. I can appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a Taylor Swift folklore shirt because that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But
very nice. He tied it in.
I did. I got it right once. But Chris, what about you? What have you been listening to? Did I ask you? No, we just talked to Tim.
No, let me. I've been spending a lot of time because it's. I work out. I come schedule weddings. I've been doing for the whole pandemic. I don't like the politics. I don't like the craziness of this world. So I've been diving back into like 1983 and 1984, and the Spotify playlists.
It sounds like it's gonna be so good, but you keep cutting out. Bud.
I'm glad it's not me. I keep thinking, am I freezing up or is Chris?
No, this is Chris. It's Chris freezing up.
Get closer to the router.
Am I back now?
I feel like his video quality has gone down to like 1998 style.
Well, it wanted to be appropriate to what he was.
But you tried to make a phone call when I was trying to do this thing. So
Get him on 56K. He'll be better quality.
Chris, I'm gonna let you get yourself under control, and I'm gonna ask Mike, what have you been listening to? I'm gonna let you figure out your Wi-Fi.
So one of the reasons why I asked him how he listens to music is I've probably got about 25 or 30 artists that they're amongst my favorite, and whenever they release something new, I buy it. The day it comes out, I buy it off of iTunes, and it just goes into steady rotation. And earlier in the summer, 2 of those artists released albums on the same date. So I downloaded Nora Jones' new album, which is "Pick Me Up Off the Floor."
You're good. Yep, you're good, Chris.
all right.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
And Michael Franti, his new album "Work Hard and Be Nice," and I love them both. Nora Jones, very typical Nora Jones, beautiful ballads, beautiful. She's got such a sultry voice and great piano player, so that's awesome. Chill music, and the Franti CD is so uplifting. If you know anything about Michael Franti, his lyrics are usually very positive and very empowering, and this album is no exception. It's great. It's really it'll help pick you up. So if you need me up, listen to the Michael Franti album. I highly recommend it.
Mike, I have to ask you. I told you about this Pete Yorn. We've talked about him so often when we've gotten together for these virtuals, and then he literally did a concert where he played the entire record that we've been talking about.
I know. I wish.
And you missed it.
I wish I got off tonight. How was it? Was it awesome?
Phenomenal. Like he went, like he literally took his computer and moved it to a piano so he could do one of the songs. Like,
was he just like playing in his bedroom? I think the screenshot you showed me looked like he was just like
yeah, it was like his kid's room or something like that. It was cool though. And he's doing another one soon. But
that album or the second album?
I think it's the second album.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to ask you, because you've talked about what you went through when you listened to Pete Yorn. Are these records, because you went through a lot this year, I think we understated that a little bit. And so were these records that you're listening to helping you through this period?
I can't really say that. I mean, I don't really associate. It's funny, as much as my dad wasn't that big into music, so I don't associate a lot of music with him. It's more, I'll tell you when I've had a tough time, Pete, is watching the Mets, because that's my biggest connection with my father was Met games. And so there, opening day, I sat there on the couch and watched the opening day in late July. I sat there watching the game, kept the spot next to me on the couch. And a couple of the games I've watched, I've gotten a little, weepy because, I normally, like, the Mets are slumping right now. Typically, I'd be texting my dad going, "What the fuck is going on with our team?" You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, not really musically. I haven't really, there hasn't been a COVID album yet or song that has really,
got you that way. Yeah, but by the way, boy, do the Mets suck this year.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah.
I mean, like, of all years that you would need a miracle Met scenario, it would be this year.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile, typically our crosstown rivals are kicking ass.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, so it's almost like just everything's good in the world, with the Mets. Yeah. Okay, Chris, I think you're back to.
All right, thank God.
Yeah, it was intense for a second there. Yeah.
What I was saying is this thing has been, such a roller coaster mentally. All I've been doing is there's a park about 10 minutes away from my house, and I've been just going there to walk or ride a bike or lift or, working out, coming home and rescheduling weddings has really been like pretty much my existence for this thing, with the occasional, restaurant gig here and there. But that's really what I've been doing. And of course, I had the 5-year anniversary of Christopher, and, there's a lot of stuff going on mentally. So I've been living in 1983 and 84 music. Spotify's got some amazing playlists, and arguably, I consider those 2 years some of the best years in music ever. You have the Police, Prince, some Stone stuff, Men at Work, Michael Jackson. Def
I was going to
Leppard.
say, you better mention Michael Jackson. He should have been first, Chris.
Yeah,
82, 83. He owned
You got to be
those
careful
years,
these
man.
days, Mike. You got to be careful with that.
He owned them.
1984 is my favorite year of music.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, you had, in terms of pop music, just with the gamut of rock and pop and country and R&B and just soul, and everything was a hit. And it was just great writing, great, and really what it is it's just a safe place to be, because it was also one of the best years of my life too, being a 14-year-old kid. And that's what music does, man. You immerse yourself back into a time and an era where the music was great, your life was great, and because you turn on the TV, and that's why my motto is turn off the news, turn off the noise, and turn up the kindness, because there's just, between COVID and the politics and the Black Lives Matter and the this and the that and the other thing, and just I'm not working, and who knows when the hell we're getting back to work. And my 4-year-old son, all he has is my wife and I and my 17-year-old daughter. So that when he finally does go back to 4-year-olds, he's going to be giving stock portfolio advice, because, he's just been hanging out. It's just a very tough and confusing time. So I always find comfort in music. And that era is definitely my comfort zone. 82, 83, 84, right in there.
Can I tell you one of the great things about that music for me personally? MTV was so huge back then. Just hearing a song, I can picture the video.
Absolutely.
Because it's so connected to the visual now that even if I'm not watching, if I just hear it in my headphones or whatever, I can picture, Michael Jackson dancing, or Prince's video here, or Bruce Springsteen pulling who's the actress?
Courtney Cox on stage.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think those songs are so connected to the visual, and it's great. It gets you on all the senses.
What about you, Chris? Is there a song outside of the material that you worked on? Is there a song that really hit you during COVID in regards to your son and all that?
When this thing first started, and as it progressed, there's a local musician. His name is John Monica, and he's a fantastic talent. Acoustic guitar player, vocalist, tremendous. I called him up because he was starting to do, how my friend Lauren and I have been doing these like videos of popular songs and stuff like that, and our own duet stuff. I had called him up and see if he wanted to do a video of an old George Michael song called "Praying for Time," because it just seemed to fit the line, it's hard to love when there's so much to hate. And there, when there is no hope to speak of, in the wounded, it's just a very poignant song, and sometimes songs just fit moments. And even though the song is probably 20-something years old, it still hits home just as effectively today as it did then, if not more. It's just a crazy, crazy time. These are crazy times, and I'm not happy with today. And it seemed to happen so fast too. You turn around and it's like, what the Oz just, we just got spun into and nothing's the same. And when we go back, you were talking about new normal. It's like, look, who's going to want to come and see live music anymore and be afraid to want to be around those crowds? Who's going to want to
disagree, Chris? Hey, here's my philosophy, Chris. I think people are so pent up and so frustrated about not going out. I think when we finally release the Hounds, I think concerts will be more packed.
You're right. I'm with you.
I think movie theaters. Listen, I used to hate going to the movie theater. You overpay. You sit there for a half hour before the movie starts with all the previews. I miss going to the fuck movie theater now.
I know.
So I think it'll be short term. I think we'll get back to a normal after a while. But I think once we're allowed to go out, I think bars, concerts, clubs are going to be packed. I could be wrong, but that's my
Tim, I'm curious for you as somebody who goes to see a lot of live music. Tim, I'm talking to you. As someone who goes to see a lot of live music, are you ready to go out and to concerts and whatnot?
I am pulling out my hair the fact that I can't go to shows, because like for me, like that is my peak music therapy
Really
because
cool
I'm able to
burnout.
like that is my church in a sense. Like that is me going there and like with my people and singing and dancing around and being ridiculous and just getting sweat, blood all out. And I know that is the last thing that is going to open up because I know like there are concerts that are opening up. I know. Did you guys see the UK concert with like the socially distant little boxes everybody had?
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
I didn't see that.
oh,
Yeah, I
you
did.
I gotta check that out.
can I send a picture of that to you, Peter? To
Yes, and I can share it for sure. Yes,
All right,
I can do that.
I've got it
Yes.
right here. I'll send it to what's the best way on Facebook? I'll give you like a message of it.
Just send it to me via a messenger. Yeah.
Okay, I'll message you right now. And it looked really cool and looks fun. It's almost like everyone's got box seats and everyone's got their little area and they can kind of hang. But you know, as much as like that's really cool and also like probably like really nice the fact that you don't have to worry about like going through a crowd of sweaty people and like being behind somebody who has like a person on their shoulders and trying to see around them and all that stuff. But that's kind of part of the show. Like I don't know, that's
him. Isn't the sweaty guy next to you part of the
that's
enjoyment?
part of
So
the
that's
thing.
fucking weird, but isn't it part of it? I mean, I have literally put my arms around strangers at concert and sang along to songs.
Yeah.
Isn't that part of the joy of music and the
Yeah.
experience? I
Absolutely.
don't know. I don't think it's gone forever. I hope not. I don't want to live in a world where that's never going to happen again.
Maybe not concerts so much, but I'm thinking in terms of the bar and club scene. It was already on its last legs before this thing hit.
Chris,
I mean,
people are already going to. They're breaking up bars in down South Jersey. Somebody just got in trouble for opening a bar.
I'm not talking about the dance clubs, those juice heads. I'm
No,
talking
no.
about
I think this was a
live
live
music.
music club. Yeah, yeah. Don't be so down, Chris. It's going to come back. I'm telling you, man. A year from now, you're going to be so in
listen,
demand.
your lips
You're
to
going to
God's
wish you
sake,
could
I
kill
hope so.
yourself.
I hope so. You know, when I see stores like Sears closing and stuff
Yeah.
like that after hundreds of years and stuff like that, it's like, and everybody orders off of Amazon.
This is the
that's
setup,
cool.
Mike. This is the
Oh,
setup.
that looks weird. Oh, that looks really weird. I thought
Right?
it was hospital beds at first.
Hey, those are the sets you got me and Sean for Billy Joel, right?
So how did they enforce you not leaving your little box?
I wonder. Yeah, I guess. If you have to go to a bathroom, do you go through the little aisle? Maybe
Or
once
just
you.
like if I wanted to dance in the grass, were they stopping me?
I don't know. It looks like there's. If you guys look on the left, there's some guy in like a black suit, so he's walking around somewhere. Maybe they got like security.
Like,
But,
stunned
like,
Where do you
on
see the
it?
guy in the black suit? Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So I don't know. It's probably one of those things where like everyone stay in the box as much as you can. If you need to go to the bathroom and get a beer, you can, but wear a mask or something on the way there.
I'm curious to see what that looks like. I'm not against that though. If you really want to see live music, is that so bad to sit
It's
in your
probably
little
cool, but like
box?
look how big that is. I think there was like something like 1,000 people.
You know,
Look
though,
how-
they got floor seats in a stadium. I wouldn't mind that as much.
I wouldn't mind this at all. Yeah.
You know, but like, and then the outer part of the stadium, it's the same old seating, but on the
Yeah.
floor, I always found it hard to see anybody if you had floor seats, especially if you got somebody in front of you, you're standing on your chair all night. This
Yeah.
is a way where you can actually, see the stage. So
Especially with somebody with a cell phone, right? Hopefully we lose
Yeah.
that in this
The
pandemic.
cell phone drives
Well,
me.
Somehow
Yeah,
get out of
when you're watching a concert and this is all you see the whole time.
yeah, why haven't go if you're going to hold up your cell phone the entire time?
But the funny thing is like I am also as complaining about people holding cell phones at concerts. I also look at YouTube of people holding cell phones and what. So I'm not innocent on that. Now listen, guys, have you heard Taylor Swift's new record?
I've not. But you're
There's
pushing.
a segue.
Tim, you have not heard Taylor Swift's new record?
I've heard this. I guess the single in a sense, and that's about it.
Okay. What are we calling the single? Out of curiosity, Cardigan.
I don't remember what it's called, but I remember seeing like a post somebody had put on Facebook about it. But it sounded like Taylor Swift. It sounded good. But give me
I
your
have to
take.
tell you, this is the record. We talked about Pete Yorn and the record that you're listening to and whatnot. This record came out of her lockdown. This came out of quarantine, and she worked on it.
Yeah,
and it's absolutely brilliant. I think you guys need to spend some time with it. The things that she is talking about are absolutely way different from anything that you've ever known about Taylor Swift. She's so deep, and her lyrics are just outrageous. I mean, I said on Twitter that she is up there now. She is this generation's Beatles and Bob Dylan.
Wow. That's saying a fucking lot. Dude.
That you just
expectations are out here now. Like
you just pretty high.
I'm telling you guys, like
it's $7.99. I'm buying it right now. I'm buying it.
It's just different. Like, okay, we know the Beatles and Bob Dylan, and we love it, but this is just this generation's like epic record that they should all be going to. It's just
how do you get political on it, Peter?
There's some.
Does she get political?
She does. There's some.
I know that's her big thing now. Like she's
turned into a
politics forever.
Yeah.
Does she pepper it in, or is she pretty blatant about it? Like, does she say the word Trump?
There's some. No, she doesn't say Trump. She doesn't say his name. But there's just
who she's talking about.
Yeah, I think so. But it's not overtly political. I would say it's more emotional. If you're going through something, I just happen to be going through some of the things that she's writing about. So yeah,
nerve. Okay.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
I just spent $4 for 4 songs for Chris D'Amico, and for $8 I got 16 songs for Taylor Swift. So Chris, you're charging twice as much as Taylor Swift. Good for you, my friend. Good for you.
I love it. Yeah.
I want 4 cents and she had 4 million.
No, guys. I mean, I just think that it's really awesome material. Hey, Mike, you've been doing another pivot thing. You've been doing these because you can't do it on Facebook anymore, but you've been doing these live Twitch streams. How's that going for you? You played one of my songs. Thank you so much for doing that, by the way. I appreciate it.
You know what, Peter? We're getting a little bit of promotional value out of it. We have some clients tuning in because we email all of our clients the morning of and say, hey, we're going live tonight. But for me, more than anything, it's keeping my skills sharp. I know a number of DJs who are doing their first gig in 5 months, and they're like, hey, man, I'm rusty, and I forget where my music is, and I haven't been working on my crates, but I'm staying on top of, my music and my skills because I've been doing this once a week. So even without the promotional value, I'm glad I've been doing it throughout the whole time.
I have to tell you, man, like, I mean, I don't normally watch wedding DJs or people DJ things, but when you post about it, like, hey, 6 o'clock, Mike, 7 o'clock, whomever, Dominic, whatever, I got excited by it. Like, I legitimately was excited by the fact that and then you had a cocktail, and then I had to make the same cocktail that you had. I was like really into it, and I just took the time to watch you for whatever that was, like an hour or whatnot.
Maybe you'll tune in this week. I'm going to do a new millennial mix, 2000 to 2009.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
I mean, that's my high school and college. So
I've been doing 60s for the last 2 weeks, and I figured let me not get stuck in a rut of older music, and I've been putting a playlist together. So tune in. You can text me your requests. I'd love for you to check it out.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking of playlists, should we make a live at night playlist of all of our things that we're listening to, so they can actually listen to all these things?
Definitely. Yeah. What do you got on that? So I said
folk. I'll make it, and I'll give you guys invites for it on Spotify. That way we can toss them on there.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So find that.
All right.
I don't know how to do that.
I've just created it, and I will send it to you guys.
All right.
Very cool. What about you, Chris? You've been doing some shows, right? You've been playing out.
Yeah.
And is streaming that helpful? Are you finding that streaming that is becoming a thing for you?
More so in the fact to just show people that I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. I've had several brides call me up for like weddings at their next April and stuff, just to kind of like say without saying, hey, just seeing if you're still here, and so, I did notice though that the arc of the stream, when it first happened, everybody was just clamoring to hear stuff. And now everybody's just like, okay, here's another guy streaming, I'm just like Mike. I'm doing these shows. Yeah, I'm making a couple bucks, but it's really to keep my vocal and piano chops going.
Mm.
So when I do go back, I'm not like, stuck to the keys. And I've also made some new tracks, because I make tracks here in the studio to play along or play against. And it's a good way to try to break them in. Like, a comic goes and tries to set out like 2 a.m.
Totally.
to sell it. I'm doing the same stuff with some of the tracks. So it's for when we do go back to doing what we do best, It's not like, okay, we're flying by the seat of our pants. We know what works, what doesn't, where to get it,
A couple of things. I was going to ask you, Tim, have you? I mentioned I caught Pete Yorn's concert virtually, and I loved it. I thought it was in a way better than some of the concerts that I've seen him do in person.
Mhm.
Because it was way more personal, and it was just more intimate. There was a group of us, and yes, we missed all the screaming and the singing. We were all singing along, but nobody could hear each other. You know what I mean? There's no like audience participation that we've gotten used to. But have you caught any streams of people performing their records or some fun things?
Yeah, I think every artist is trying to figure out their kind of way to kind of navigate through this, and they're trying to figure out a way to make it interesting and unique and all that stuff like that. And at the very beginning of all this in March, Dropkick Murphys kind of started it all with like their whole free St. Patrick's Day thing, and that was fun to watch and everything. But also felt like I felt itchy. Like I was like, I'd want to be there. Like I don't like. It's like it almost like hurt to watch in a sense. So I kind of tend to like, as far as the online stuff, more of the acoustical stuff where you can kind of chill and watch it. Because I've also watched like a Newfound Glory did a thing where they did the same. I think you paid like $15, watch a full show, and they played like a huge set, professionally recorded, multiple cameras, really great sound quality. But same thing again. The whole time I was just like, I wish I was there. Like
Yeah.
I'm dying watching this here. It's like it's such a tease. So
When
that's
Pete Yorn did his show, I was singing along and I had my window open, and I guess I got too verbal, and a guy stopped with his dog and just stared at me from I really
like, is he talking to me?
Exactly. That's what his face was like. This is great. Do you have more, Tim? I see you're.
No, I mean, it's one of those things. I think I appreciate what all these artists are doing. I have one guy that I know, Frank Turner. He puts on an acoustic show pretty much every other week, and he does great, and that's fun. I know a lot of people. What they're doing is doing like the whole like vinyl and like one of my favorite bands, the Menzingers, actually is putting out their they came out with an album at the beginning of this year in January, and they're re-releasing it in September. Acoustic style with the harmonica and stuff like that, and they've changed some of the lyrics to kind of go with this time period, and they're giving you a mask with their logo on it.
Oh, that's cool.
That is pretty cool.
That's a cool add-on.
Pete Yorn had all kinds of merchandise that you can buy. Like, I caught this quarantine concert, and I was like, I'm not buying that. Like, I almost want to forget about this entire period.
Yes, I'd like to skip.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, you're going to like this. You know who's going to join me live at night next week?
Who we got?
Okay, ready? Do you know
Olivia
her?
D'Abo.
Yeah, from the Wonder Years. She's going to come on here, and she's going to was that a show for you, Mike, the Wonder Years?
No, I was going to say that's a generational thing. I never saw it. I've heard of the show, but I never saw it.
Yeah.
What's the
tremendous show?
What's the occasion or what's the scenario?
We're
Is she
just
on
talking
there?
about the Wonder Years. We're talking
What
about
do you remember what years that was on?
1960. No, I'm just kidding. The show is set in the 60s.
Right.
No, it's an 80s. It's an 80s show, right?
Late 80s, right?
89, I think. Yeah. So
late 80s, early 90s ending.
Yeah. So she's going to join me, and we're going to chit chat about her character Karen, which is apparently a bad word now. And that kind of like, I'm like, I know a lot of really nice Karens, so I'm just like, whatever. But okay. We're rolling with that. Yeah, so she'll be here with me next week on Live at Night. Guys, this was so much fun to see you guys again.
Thank you for having us on. Happy birthday again.
Thank you so much, guys. All right, we'll see you soon. All right.
All righty.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.